There's a kind of person who begs for a day off, and then, when it finally comes, feels worse. You clear your schedule. You tell yourself, today I'm going to rest. But a few hours in, something feels wrong. Your body is on the couch, but your mind is pacing. Your thoughts keep circling, emails unanswered, projects untouched, a mental list that refuses to stop scrolling. Instead of feeling relaxed, you feel guilty. Instead of feeling restored, you feel behind. Somewhere in the background, there's a quiet, learned equation running. If I'm not producing, I'm failing. And yet on the surface, nothing is wrong. You have free time. You're allowed to rest. So why does it feel like you're doing something bad? Stay with this, because this isn't just about being bad at relaxing. There's a deeper story here about why rest, for you, started to feel like failure. You get home after a long day and sit down, determined to unwind. Within minutes, your hand reaches for your phone just to check one thing. An hour later, you've answered messages, scrolled through updates, skimmed 3 articles, and somehow you feel even more wired. Vacations might not feel like vacations either. You pack your laptop just in case. You answer a quick email by the pool. You keep one eye on your notifications so no one thinks you've disappeared. Your body changes locations, but your mind never leaves work. Even when you do something fun, a show on, game night, hanging out with friends, there's a restlessness underneath. You double screen. The show is playing, but your thumb keeps waking up your phone like silence is a trap. And when someone casually asks, "So what did you do today?" you feel a flicker of panic. You start listing tasks, errands, tiny accomplishments, because saying nothing feels like it says something about you. From the outside, it looks like free time. On the inside, it feels like a silent emergency, as if doing nothing means you are nothing. Underneath all of this, something deeper is running. Why does your system treat rest like a threat instead of a refuge? Before we look at where it came from, we need to feel the weight of living this way. People see you as driven, dependable, on it. They might even admire how much you get done. What they don't see is the exhaustion that lives in your bones. It's like leaving a car idling in the driveway. The engine isn't moving you anywhere, but it's burning fuel all the same. The way your shoulders never fully drop. The way even lying in bed at night can feel like being stuck in a meeting with your own thoughts. You wake up feeling like you never really clocked out. Sleep doesn't feel like a full shutdown, just a brief dimming of the lights. You struggle to be fully present. You're at dinner with someone you love, but part of your mind is reviewing your to-do list. You're watching a movie together, but you feel irritated that you're not using this time more efficiently. When others say, "Just relax," it almost feels cruel. If relaxing were that simple, you would have done it years ago. Inside, there's often a harsher narrative. Why can't I just chill like everyone else? What's wrong with me? Why does doing nothing make me feel like I'm disappearing? It's not that you don't want to stop, it's that you don't know how. There's a difference, and almost nobody sees it. And underneath it all, there's fear. Fear that if you stop pushing, even briefly, everything you've worked for will unravel. That the version of you other people trust and praise only exists as long as you're on. So you keep going. You keep saying yes. You keep moving, thinking, scrolling, planning. But your body keeps score. In headaches that show up on your days off. In the tight chest that appears when you finally sit down. In the mysterious fatigue that only arrives when you're supposed to be resting. It's tempting to call this a personality trait. I'm just a workaholic, or I just like being busy. But underneath that story is something more tender. A nervous system that doesn't quite trust safety, and a self-worth that has been welded to productivity for a very long time. How did that connection get so strong? At what point did taking a break start to feel like falling behind? To answer that, we have to look backward. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being still was dangerous. Maybe you grew up in a home where sitting down invited comments like, "Don't you have anything better to do?" Where the adults around you were always working, multiple jobs, endless hustle, and the unspoken rule was clear: we survive by never stopping. Or maybe your family story was one of sacrifice and scarcity. Immigrant parents or caregivers who had to fight hard just to stay afloat. You watched them come home exhausted, proud of how much they'd endured. You heard phrases like, "We don't have the luxury to relax," or "You earn rest, you don't just take it." Praise might have shown up most when you were doing. Good grades, extra chores, side achievements, constantly striving. Rest didn't get applause, results did. There's another version too. Environments that felt unpredictable emotionally or physically. Homes where tension walked in before anyone said a word. In those spaces, being on guard, scanning, anticipating, staying mentally busy was a way to feel a little bit safer. Your younger self might have decided, very wisely, if I stay alert, maybe I won't be caught off guard again. And then there's the culture around you. The one that quietly teaches your worth is your output. Busyness is a badge of honor. Taking all your vacation days looks suspicious. In that world, choosing to rest can feel like choosing to be less valuable. If this is landing in your chest right now, there's one detail most people miss. Your body started learning these rules long before your mind could name them. So your brain did what brains do. It adapted. It built a system where staying active in your schedule, in your thoughts, in your screen time equaled safety and worth. And that system worked. It got you through school, through jobs, through instability. It helped you become the reliable, capable person you are now. It just never got the memo that the emergency might be over. Before you judge yourself for any of this, before you add "learn to relax" to yet another list of things to fix about yourself, consider something. This isn't you being broken. This is you being adaptive. That part of you that can't relax isn't your enemy. It's the most loyal part of you, loyal to the rules that once kept you safe. The part that showed up every time stopping didn't feel like an option. The part that made sure you didn't slip through the cracks. It's still running, not because it's defective, but because no one ever told it the emergency was over. Of course it's hard to let go of that. Of course your system doesn't immediately trust a day off. If you spent years in a world where only the constantly productive felt secure, why would your body suddenly believe that lying on the couch is okay? When you see it this way, the guilt around rest stops looking like a moral failure and starts looking like a nervous system doing its best with the story it was given. That protection was a gift once. It just doesn't know it's allowed to rest yet. You're not lazy for struggling to relax. You're not weak for feeling anxious when you slow down. You are someone whose body learned that on equals alive and off equals at risk. The work now is not to bully that part of you into silence, but to understand it, to see how hard it has been working for you. And once you can see it, really see it, something quiet and surprising begins to happen. You might start to recognize this pattern in small, specific ways. On your free days, notice what happens almost automatically. Do you feel an urge to schedule them full, to plan projects for your day off so you don't feel unproductive? Then there's the voice that shows up when you sit still, the one that immediately suggests you could be cleaning, learning, optimizing, the one that calls you lazy for choosing joy that doesn't produce anything. You close the laptop and stand there for a second. Instead of relief, your body stays braced, like it's waiting for someone to call your name. Your shoulders don't quite drop. Your chest doesn't quite open. You might even notice how you react to other people's rest. A partner napping in the afternoon. A friend who sets firm boundaries around their time off. Do you feel a flash of irritation or envy or disbelief? Sometimes it's easier to see the pattern reflected in someone else. Recognizing the pattern isn't about diagnosing yourself.
It's simply about being honest. There is a part of me that doesn't feel safe unless I'm doing something. Once you can name that, something subtle begins to shift. This isn't about fixing yourself or suddenly becoming someone who loves bubble baths and silent weekends. It's about changing your relationship with the part of you that panics when you rest. The next time you notice guilt creeping in during a quiet moment, you might simply acknowledge it. Oh, there's that old rule again, the one that says rest equals failure. And then, quietly, I know where you come from, but I'm safe now. You don't have to obey that rule. You also don't have to fight it. Awareness itself creates a tiny bit of space between you and the reflex to fill every second.
In that space, you get to be more than the rule you inherited. Ambition and rest are not opposites. You're allowed to be a human being in between the achievements, to exist in hours that don't produce anything measurable. You don't have to earn your right to be here. And simply seeing this pattern, not fighting it, not performing it, just seeing it, is already a kind of rest in itself. So take a moment and ask yourself, when you finally get free time, what is the very first thought or feeling that shows up? Is it relief? Is it guilt? Is it an urge to reach for your phone, your laptop, your to-do list? And if you go way back, what's the first memory you have of feeling guilty for resting? Not recently, the very first one you can remember. What was happening around you? What were you quietly learning about your own worth? If something surfaced just now, a moment you've carried but never named, your story belongs here too. Share it below, not as a confession, but as a recognition. This is how my system learned to survive. And if this resonated, there's another pattern that often lives right beside it. The feeling that time itself is against you, that no matter how much you do, you're already behind. We'll explore that in the next video. People who feel like they're running out of time, the pressure that never stops. Because understanding why you can't relax is one piece, but there's something else underneath it. The sense that time itself has become an enemy. Not deadline time, lifetime. That's next.